Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp.com, and I've been with them for a long time. BetterHelp is an online platform where we found that you can effectively communicate with your therapist. Now, you begin by filling out a questionnaire, and then you'll be matched with a therapist within a couple of days. And if that match isn't ideal for you, you can certainly make an adjustment there. Now, you're going to be encouraged to journal, and also they have the availability for group therapy on a wide array of topics, and I really like that. So as the need exists, go ahead and take the necessary steps to get the help that you need. And just know that BetterHelp has a 4.5 rating on Trustpilot, so it indeed is a platform you can trust. There's a link below the video that will take you there. It's simply a fact that narcissists can trigger lots of negative emotions within you. When you have ongoing exposure to them, they can just get under your skin, and eventually you're going to have all sorts of troubled emotions, not the least of which is going to be the emotion of disdain. And when we talk about disdain, disdain is illustrated when you come to the conclusion this person is so much trouble, and there's so much they bring so much difficulty into my life. I just have no regard for them. I don't want to be around them. I don't like who they are. I don't like what they stand for. I'm weary. I strongly dislike so many things that they do and have done towards me. This person is trouble. This person's a jerk. This person represents a dark chapter in my life. Now, in my 40 plus years in the counseling office, I heard so many stories where that kind of theme was extremely prominent. And it prompts us to ask the question, what is it about that narcissistic individual that so strongly triggers that emotion of disdain from the inside of you? Well, my number one explanation about why they are so triggering there is simply this, and that is, in the narcissist mind, you are permanently inferior. It's not like you're just inferior. It's a permanent thing. It's like you just need to get it straight. I'm better than you, and there's just no discussion. And just accept the fact that that's the way it is. Now, in doing so, they illustrate that they've positioned themselves as the judge over you, as if that's the appropriate thing to do. They can be consistently condescending. And even when they do good things towards you, you kind of get the feeling after a period of time, it's like, okay, something's coming. You want something from me, but I can't really trust even the good times that they have. You know that there have been times when they'll smear your character. Sometimes they'll do it directly to your face. Sometimes they do it right behind your back. They've turned other individuals against you. They've been very deceptive. They're highly defensive. It's all their way of saying, I don't need to make myself accountable to anyone, especially someone like you. And then in general, the narcissist has the notion that says so much about you is just not right. And I stand against you. I don't really like you. Of course, you may be thinking a whole lot of the same in reverse toward them. Now, I want you to notice that whenever they go into this kind of space, there are so many different ways that they can communicate their attitude that says you're permanently inferior to me. For example, I want you to think, they can criticize you left and right, and they constantly remind you how terribly flawed you are. In other words, their criticism says, you're inferior to me. They'll invalidate your perceptions and your needs and your interpretations about things, which is their way of saying you are inferior. They'll speak words of ridicule about you and toward you, and in their ridicule, it's their way of saying, you're inferior. In my mind, that's the way it works. They'll step all over your opinions, and they insist that you adopt their thoughts and opinions. Why? Because you see, you're inferior. They'll question your descriptions about significant events. If you talk with them about your take on how things played out, you just don't know what you're talking about. Why is that? Because you're inferior. You're inadequate. They'll give you advice that you didn't want, nor do you need, but it's because you're inferior. And they'll entice others to think poorly of you because it's their way of trying to save others from your inferior status. I mean, that's how they think. And the longer you're with that individual and you walk away from their presence, you're thinking, I'm not coming out too good in this equation. I don't like this. And that's where that feeling of disdain comes in. Now, in order for a narcissist to get to the point where they can really buy off on this kind of mindset, what they have to do is they have to concoct their own alternate reality. It's so interesting that the many ingredients that we have that are part of the makeup or the puzzle of understanding a narcissism, they all overlap. They want to have control. They have little sensitivity towards you. They have an attitude of entitlement, and they hide behind a false self. And as a result, with all of those kinds of things being inaccurate, they then have to think, well, what I'll do is I'll change the way I think so that I can make my truth the reality, and we call that alternate reality. In other words, they just make up stuff to suit their narrative. What are some of the things inside their alternate reality that allow them to presume that you are indeed inferior? Well, first, as part of their alternate reality, they've convinced themselves, well, you know what? I'm enlightened. I'm special, so I have the right to judge. And my response is, oh, really? By the way, here in the southern part of the United States, we have the term bless your heart. And when we say bless your heart, it doesn't mean bless your heart. It means kiss my, So, but I'm special. Well, bless your heart. They in their alternate reality, they think, well, I may have a few flaws, but they're really nothing compared to your flaws. And I'm thinking again, oh, really? Is that the way it works? Or they may think, well, the world would be a much better place if everyone thought, just like me. And again, my reaction is, seriously, oh, really? You believe that? It's like, oh, yeah, that's true. Or they may even come along and say, well, there have been times when I've been unruly, or you would call it emotionally unhinged, but A, it's not as bad as you would say that it is, and B, you caused it anyway. And so they try to get themselves off the hook even when their humanity is on just wild display. Oh, really? You think that way, huh? It's like, yeah, that's how I rationalize. That's their alternate reality. Or they can think, I actually know you better than you know yourself. Now, I've talked to people who have had that phrase spoken to them, and that's an eye roller. Oh, really? You think that you know me better than I know myself? Yeah. That's how I think. And again, because you have the inferior status. And then, of course, along with that, then in their alternate reality, they've convinced themselves, I have no need to learn from you. I already know everything I need to know. And my response is, oh, really? Bless your heart. Now, in your response to this, you can be thinking, okay, let me get this straight. I'm the inferior person here, and I bring little or no redeeming value to you. And the narcissist would be thinking, yeah, that's about right. And then you can think, so what that also means is when you and I differ, the only reasonable response then for me is to defer to you. Is that what you're trying to tell me? And the narcissist would basically say, why, yes, that's a very good point. Yeah, you make a lot of sense on that one. And they honestly, and this is not just something they occasionally go to. They honestly think you are inferior on a permanent basis. I am superior. End of discussion. Oh, really? So is it any wonder that you feel the disdain that you do towards that narcissistic person? And as you try to sift this all out, my first reaction is, well, don't require yourself to not feel what you feel, because it's only normal for you to think that way and to feel that way. When somebody's jabbing you in the ribs with a stick, you say, quit it. I don't like this. And it's the same kind of way when you're being jabbed emotionally. Now, having said that, my response is, I don't want to be so tied to the narcissist through my strong emotion that I wind up staying dysfunctional. So you want to have the emotion, but you don't want the emotion itself to be a defining feature in your personality. So what this means is you'll need to remind yourself when somebody comes towards you with this notion that says, I'm superior and you are permanently inferior, it reminds you there's just some people that are beyond redemption. If you think that way and you honestly have rationalized it with your alternate reality that that's a reasonable thing, then in my opinion, you're somebody that doesn't grow psychologically. You haven't matured. You're an underdeveloped individual. And I can't afford to engage with you on any kind of deep level, because if it means I have to just receive my false inferiority and your false superiority, that's just not going to work. And the narcissist may think, well, you're wrong. And my response is, I tell you what, why don't you go on your own merry way and think as you will. My thinking is so different from yours that, you know what, we're just not going to be a very good match. I'm going to go ahead and stand in my self-respect, and I'm going to do it with or without your endorsement. And then when they indicate, well, I just can't go along with you on that, then my ultimate response is, bless your heart. Now, I hope that videos like this can give you some good food for thought. If you haven't already hit that subscribe button, then go ahead and do so. We're going to keep more videos coming towards you. I know that there are times when you are dealing with something like this that it might be helpful for you to have a therapist that will help you sift this out. You know, I've been a therapist my entire career. I'm obviously a strong believer in that. We have a link below to our sponsor down at betterhelp.com. All you have to do is fill out a few questions, and you get to select a therapist that can work with you. So please, as the need is there, then get the assistance you would need. Now, in addition, if you go to my website, you'll see that I have lots of resources. Primary among those is the courses that I have, and I put a whole lot of work into them. Each course has at least 25 teaching videos, and each video has handouts and guided questions. We have them on anger management, about having boundaries, about finding yourself despite their control, about having healthy connections with others. We also have on my website my webinars, which are 90-minute PowerPoint presentations, along with lots of articles. And then, of course, we have my book. So we have plenty of resources there. And the whole purpose for me doing all the work that I do here is to assist you and help you get across the line more and more towards healthiness. Okay, so the narcissist thinks, well, you know, there's all the rest of you poor slobs out there, and then there's me. And that's, it's so disgusting when they let you know, oh, I'm serious about this. And my response is, yeah, I see that you are. Recognize that's where they are. You're not going to make them be any different, probably not. And so that being the case, I'm hoping you can get yourself right from the inside out, and it positions you to be steady and emotionally mature in ways that they can't be, which then also positions you to be a person of peace. I so want you to find your peace.